Have you ever noticed that the people with the least money often look like they have the most? The newest shoes, the freshest clothes, the nicest car on the block, the phone that just dropped last week. And then you look at people who are genuinely wealthy, people who have real money, generational money, the kind of money that does not run out, and a lot of them look completely ordinary. Drive normal cars, live in houses that do not announce themselves, wear clothes that do not have a logo on them, do not feel the need to show you anything. And if you have ever noticed that and wondered why, this one is for you. Because the answer to that question is one of the most important things you can understand about money and how it actually works versus how most people think it works. The reason the poor look rich and the rich look poor is not complicated. It comes down to one thing: who money is actually working for. When you spend money on things that are visible, clothes, cars, jewelry, the latest phone, the expensive meal posted on social media, the money is working for your image, is buying you the appearance of having. And the appearance of having feels good. It feels like status. It feels like respect. It feels like proof that you are doing okay, even when the bank account tells a completely different story. And for people who grew up without money, who felt the shame of not having, who watched other people have things they could not have, the ability to finally buy the visible things feels like winning. Like arriving. Like finally being the person who has something instead of the person who is watching from the outside. But here is what nobody tells you about buying the visible things. They do not build anything. The shoe does not appreciate in value. The car loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. The outfit is worth nothing the moment it goes out of style. The money you spent on those things is gone. It bought you a feeling and a few moments of looking like you have more than you do. And then it is over. And you are right back where you started, except with less money and a payment you have to make next month. The wealthy understand something about money that most people who grew up without it were never taught. They understand that money has two modes. You can spend it or you can put it to work. When you spend it, it is gone. When you put to work, it comes back. And the people who figured out how to put money to work, even small amounts of it, even before they had much, are the ones who end up with real wealth over time. Not because they earn more, because they understood that every dollar that goes toward an asset instead of an appearance is a dollar that is building something rather than buying a feeling. This is why wealthy people can look like they have nothing, because what they have is not visible. It is not on their wrist or in their driveway or on their back. It is in accounts you cannot see, in assets that are quietly growing, in the gap between what they make and what they spend that gets wider every year instead of staying the same. They are not performing wealth. They are building it. And building it does not look impressive from the outside. It looks boring. It looks like the person who did not upgrade when everyone else upgraded, who drove the old car another year, who passed on the thing that everyone else was buying. And from the outside, that person looks like they cannot afford it, when actually they are the one who understands something everyone else is missing. Now I want to talk about why this pattern exists. Because I do not think it is as simple as poor people being bad with money and rich people being good with it. That framing is too easy and it misses the real reason. The real reason has to do with what money represents emotionally to people who grew up without it versus people who grew up with it. For people who grew up in financial scarcity, money represents security and status. It represents the ability to finally have what you could not have before, to finally be seen as someone who has something. And when you grow up feeling like you do not have enough, like you are on the outside of something everyone else seems to have access to, the desire to look like you belong is not vanity. It is a deeply human response to a painful experience. And when money finally comes, the most natural thing in the world is to spend it on the things that signal you have arrived, that you're not that person anymore, that you have something now. But for people who grew up with financial stability, money does not carry that emotional weight. It is not tied to their sense of worth or their need to prove something. It is just a tool. And when money is just a tool, you use it differently. You're not spending it to feel something. You are spending it strategically to produce outcomes. And that difference in the emotional relationship with money produces completely different financial behaviors, even when the income is exactly the same. This is why two people can make the same salary and end up in completely different financial situations 10 years later. is not about what they earned. It is about what money meant to them emotionally and what they did with it as a result. The person who grew up without money and never examined that experience is likely to spend in ways that reflect the emotional need to feel like they have arrived. The person who either grew up with financial stability or who examined their relationship with money and changed it is likely to spend in ways that reflect an understanding of what money actually does when it is managed intentionally. And here is the hard truth that I think needs to be said clearly. The visible things that feel like wealth are actually the things that prevent it. The expensive car payment is money that is not going toward an asset. The designer clothes are money that is not going toward anything that grows. The constantly upgraded phone is money that is not building a safety net. Every dollar that goes toward looking wealthy is a dollar that is not going toward being wealthy. And the accumulation of those decisions over years and decades is the difference between the person who always looked like they had it and the person who actually built something. I'm not saying you can never buy nice things. I'm not saying that enjoying money is wrong. I am saying that if the primary way you are spending money is on things that are visible to other people, on things that signal status rather than build stability, then you're using money the way it was designed by advertising and consumer culture to be used rather than the way it actually produces wealth. And most people never step back far enough to see that distinction clearly. Let me talk about what actually produces wealth because I think people overcomplicate it. Wealth is built by consistently doing three things over a long period of time. The first is spending less than you make. Not dramatically less, just less, creating a gap and protecting it. The second is putting some of what you save into things that grow. Not necessarily the stock market. Assets, things that appreciate or produce income rather than depreciate and produce nothing. The third is time, letting those first two things compound over years and decades until the amount that is working for you becomes significant. That is the whole formula. It is not secret. It is not complicated. It does not require a special opportunity or a lucky break or access to information most people do not have. It requires patience and the willingness to look less impressive in the short term in exchange for something real in the long term. And that last part is where most people fall off. Because looking less impressive in the short term is genuinely uncomfortable when you grew up in an environment where looking like you have something was one of the only forms of status available to you. When the people around you are upgrading and spending and posting the visible evidence of their consumption, it takes real conviction to be the one who is quietly building something that nobody can see yet. It takes the ability to delay the feeling of having arrived in exchange for actually arriving. And that ability, the ability to tolerate the gap between where you are and where you want to be without filling it with things that look like the destination, is one of the rarest and most valuable things a person could develop. Here is what I want you to take from this. The next time you feel the pull toward the visible thing, the upgrade, the flex, the purchase that would make you look like you're doing well, ask yourself one question. Is this money working for my image or is it working for my future? That is the whole question. Not whether you deserve it. Not whether you can afford the payment. Whether the money is building something or buying a feeling. Because the wealthy people who look like they have nothing have spent years choosing the building over the feeling. And the result of those choices is the thing that actually cannot be taken away. Not the car, not the clothes, not the phone. The thing underneath all of it. The stability, the options, the freedom that comes from having money that is working for you instead of you always working for it. God did not design you to spend your whole life performing a version of success for other people while the real thing stays out of reach. The real thing is available. It has always been available. It just requires choosing differently than the way most people around you are choosing. It requires being willing to look ordinary on the outside while building something extraordinary on the inside. And the people who are willing to do that, who can sit with looking like they have nothing while they're building something real, are the ones who eventually have everything that actually matters. The rich look like they have nothing because what they have is not on display. Start building the version of wealth that nobody can see yet. Sit with that.